Everyone screws up their writing sometimes. I do it, you do it, that guy writing comments on that website you like does it, everyone. Some of these errors are worse than others. For instance, obvious misspellings or misspellings that don't cause confusion are fairly innocuous. Others, however, are much more serious. What's more serious, however, is very subjective. For me, a very annoying error that I see more and more online is a particular misspelling of the word lose. Observe the correct spelling on the one hand, and on the other hand, the common error. Notice something about the common error on the left. That's right, it's a different word. This seems relatively innocuous. After all, lose is, well, a verb. Loose is an adjective. So, would not context give us plenty of clues on which word is actually intended? Well, it turns out the situation is a little bit more complicated. Observe the dictionary definition for lose, which I have just obtained from Google. Lose, verb. 1. Be deprived of or cease to have or retain something. 2. Become unable to find something or someone. There's nothing surprising here. Lose means exactly what we think it does. So far, so good. Now observe this dictionary entry for loose, also obtained from Google. Loose, adjective. 1. Not firmly or tightly fixed in place, detached or able to be detached. 2. Of a garment, not fitting tightly or closely. So far, so good, right? Well, there's more. Loose, verb. 1. Set free, release. 2. Shoot an arrow or similar. Oops, it turns out that loose is also a verb, and worse yet, it takes a direct object. There are more definitions for both senses of the word loose, and also more definitions for the word lose. Those definitions are substantially similar to the ones I've already presented. The ones I presented are the most common usages. The definitions I've presented also serve very well to illustrate the differences between the two words. What this all means is that when you write loose instead of lose, you are substantially changing the meaning of your statement. The word lose has a substantially involuntary implication for the action. You don't, after all, generally lose your cat intentionally. At least, a good cat owner doesn't. Loose, on the other hand, has a substantial voluntary implication. Well, it's not actually even an implication, it's right there in the definition. If you loose your cat, you're setting him free. That means you are not expecting to find him again, necessarily. This is a very different thing, and this is why this particular error bothers me so much. I can understand this sort of confusion from people for whom English is a second language. Many of those people will not be aware of the distinction between lose and loose, or they will be confused or unaware of some of the basic rules of spelling in English. There are also native English speakers that are unaware of the distinction between lose and loose as well. However, for the native English speaker, they should be aware of the correct spelling of lose, and as a result of that, they should not be making this error in the first place, at least not systematically. I should note that an occasional extra O in lose is not what irks me. Well, it does, but I can forgive that. It can easily be written off as a simple typo. On the other hand, there are a number of writers I have encountered recently online, particularly those writing longer works such as manuals or short stories or even novels. These writers have been making this particular error systematically. That is, they are consistently misspelling lose as loose. This is the situation I find particularly unforgivable. Remember, it is your job as a writer to make sure you use the language you are writing correctly. It is a sign of respect to your reader. That means it is your responsibility to make sure that you have written your words correctly. You need to make sure that you proofread your work, and you have to make sure that you do this manually because some errors are not going to be caught by the automatic software. This particular error will not be caught by a spell checker because loose is actually a word. Similarly, it will not normally be caught by a grammar checker because loose as a verb fits into exactly the same syntactic structure as lose does. That means if you are not doing manual proofreading, you will not catch this sort of error. Now, the lose-loose confusion is not the only such common error that occurs. I'll talk about other ones in future videos. For now, I'm William Astle, and this has been Lost Wizard's Musings. Thank you for watching.